Good evening and welcome to another Monday Night Live. I am finally back with Simon joining the team. James behind the discs. Wow, another week's gone by. I saw the show. I saw the show while I was away. Well done.
Lots of questions came in. It saves me a lot of hard work in terms of trying to fill time there. The questions are great. Improving week on week is great.
They were coming in hard and fast, weren't they? So what's happening in the world of equipment? I mean, it's the sort of the calm before the storm, I think, is it?
A little bit, yeah.
Because you've got the trade show in Jan.
Trade show late January.
And there was sort of a couple of month hiatus of I guess people's thoughts are that they want to sort of hold out for the new kit coming. Does it work that way still?
Probably not quite yet. I think where we've just had relatively recently, Titleist irons change over, ping irons change over, updating Callaway wedges. There's enough to kind of keep things interesting, and also actually now is quite a good time of year to get fit. There's still a lot of product that doesn't roll over. So Titleist, there's a 2-year cycle, ping 2-year cycle. There are a couple of updates that'll be coming in early part of the year, but there's still TaylorMade, Callaway, Cobra will change over, but there's still quite a lot that's relevant through early part of the season. So it's still a good time to get fitted, but come December time, that's when, it'll...
And people are on jollies in December as well, aren't they?
Yeah, everyone's minds turn to Christmas and how much they're going to spend on the turkey.
Yes, the giblets. Well, as per usual, we have the feed, slightly different for Good Golf Coaching. We're on Vertical Live, but we are on normal format on the Precision Golf channel. We have all of the questions in front of us. Let's kick ourselves off with Precision Golf and the questions we've got. John Burton. I played GT1 driver at 2 grams, at minus 2 grams weight with Ventus TRSR shaft. What would you put in the GT280 to have the same feel and performance?
So did he say which shaft, or was there
Ventus TR?
Oh, there's a follow-up red. Okay.
Red TR.
So, I mean, if you've got the -2, depending on what length you're playing it at, because the GT1s tend to come out slightly longer, so if it's been built in line with the GT1 standard length of 45.5, the 280 is going to play a couple of inches shorter. If you want the same kind of feel, the Ventuses are a great shaft, but actually, I wouldn't say unique feel-wise, but I would look to go into the Red 6, TR Red 6 in the 280. So up slightly in terms of weight, where the shaft's shorter, just to kind of keep them swinging the same, but it's going to give you a very, very similar feel. You potentially, I think you're in the R, you're just sticking the R Flex in the 280 and in the red, TR Red, that should work well for you.
Great to have so many of you on. If you are new to a Monday Night Live, we do this every week at 6 p.m. Simon usually has me with him. Last week I was away. But if you're new to it, do double tap the screen, hit the like button, and we'd really appreciate that. Help grow the feed as well. Going on to my channel, when I go to the range, there is so much work on how do I get the most of my practice session? How do I know what to work on when it seems like what I'm trying isn't working? Well, I think it's a really good question that if you're working on something in your golf game, you want to cycle it, you want to do 5 balls, really stringently working on the drill, maybe take some video at the start of that 5 balls and then take a video at the end of those 5 balls. Get some sort of idea of how far you're pushing it. Then go another 5 balls, push it a little bit further. That's just out and out swing technique. You shouldn't really be paying any attention to what the ball's doing in the sky. It is all movement, all on your movement, because it's going to be a bit funky and you'll lose your strike. Then back off of that, then go and hit 5 shots without the technical thoughts, and then pay attention to what's going on in the sky. If you cycle that a few times, if you're working on the right stuff, you should be seeing your golf improve when you're not thinking about the swing technique to the same levels as you would be when you're out and out technique. Think of it as 3 states. You want to think about the golf swing in repair, then you want to think about your golf swing in skills. So you're trying to then acquire skills, i.e. hitting fades and draws, high lows, that sort of thing, and then match, which is on the golf course. If you spend enough time in those 3 sectors of your training, you should look to see your handicap reduce over a period of time.
But that's a great question, because I think people expect, if they're, one, actually having a focus on what you're working when you go to practice, a really key focus is massive, but people want to see it go right. But actually, if you're working on something new, it's not going to go right. No. And actually, it's accepting that you're working on a feel and a change, and actually in that period, it's hard not to care. It's kind of not caring what the results are because it's sort of secondary to what you're working on.
And of course, that's in a state of flux because the first time you make a change, the thing might be going all over the place. Yeah. And you'll get the odd one that works out nicely. Then as you're doing it maybe for 50 balls, 100 balls, you should be seeing better strikes and better flights coming your way. But in the early phases, you shouldn't really be expecting too much in the way of really nice shots. Good question. The left rough. Is the Callaway Rogue ST Max LS still a good head now or time for an upgrade?
I think ultimately, so Rogue ST Max LS is that's probably 3 cycles old now. Actually, it's still a good head. I think the one thing to remember, the middle of the face isn't allowed to get any faster. Off centres where there's a little bit of gain. I think that's where you potentially stand to gain. The Elite this year has been really good, but the Triple Diamond Max version was incredibly limited release, so you won't find that one around. I think with Europe got 20 heads in total. So that kind of model, you may, if it's working well, there's probably not a reason to update it. If you're finding your misses are being punished a little more than you like, then it's worth having a little look. But it's still a good head if it's giving you good balance of spin and good ball speed. It took me 7 years to update my driver beginning of last year. So you don't have to change every 2 or 3 years, especially as Callaway's every year. So you're only looking at 3 years back. But I guess get a bit of data, and if you can see a parameter that's lacking, then that gives you your answer.
Very good. Baptiste asks, hello, short game question. You talk about the necessity of letting the club release and slow hands. What about the footwork and shoulder turn? Can you make a point, please? So short game is a really interesting one when you're talking about, hitting shots. This, when you're playing short game shots, you're looking sometimes for added loft, sometimes for reduced loft. That can come in 2 different forms. One, a more shut club face, because a more shut club face takes loft off. More open face adds loft on. What you'll tend to find is that path has more of an influence on start line with golf balls, with more lofted clubs than the face itself. So as soon as you're starting to change the loft angle, that grip relative to the head on a more decreased loft angle, you're looking to feel like the grip is accelerating. If you're looking to feel like you're adding loft, you've got the club head feeling like it's overtaking the grip. So the balancing act of when you're pulling and when you're swinging and feeling the club unload will be different for every single shot. If you're playing a chip shot running up the green, the ball would tend to be more back of the stance and you tend to want to feel the grip accelerating. If you are then going into a bunker shot, it would be completely the opposite and you'd want the club head to feel like it overtakes. So every short game shot is different. That's the beauty of the short game, isn't it? It's like open season, complete blank canvas, because ultimately when I remember years ago, I was a young boy, that was many moons ago. There was a guy called Roger Winchester who used to play on the DP World Tour, and he was the first guy that I saw play a bunker shot off the edge of the green in the winter time when the lie was bad. He'd play it like a bunker shot because when the ball sits down in the UK, it can sit in worm casts and horrible stuff. He just played it like a bunker shot. Where in the world, there's few places that you play that shot. England's probably one of the only places that gets such poor lies in our country, and I would say you probably see more hideous short games, don't you, in golfers in this country than you do anywhere else. I can't think of a European that I've seen that's got like an amateur golfer that's got as big a problem as you see with English golfers, and I think it's just because we get such poor lies in the wintertime around the greens that short games can fall apart. So if you can be as imaginative as possible with either accelerating the grip or de-accelerating the grip, the better you'll be with your short game. But there's no one rule that fits all. It's just how imaginative you can be and what you're setting out to achieve with it, based on the lie, of course. So, short game, man, can be nasty stuff.
Wet clay in winter is miserable.
Yeah. Papa B, hello, young men. He always calls us
Evening,
young man. I like that. I like that, man.
He's a very nice man.
I'm still alive, but is the 5-wood dead? I don't see many in bags or on tours. I have a 9-degree driver, 13-degree 3-wood, and a 21-degree 7-wood. What might make sense to fill the gap?
Is the 5-wood dead? No, absolutely not. I mean, I think what we're tending to see is people playing more loft, and where it used to be driver 3-wood, 5-wood, we're kind of seeing driver 4-wood, 7-wood to get the same flights as we used to get out of 3 and 5-wood. So is it dead? No. It's actually still a really relevant club as the first fairway wood for a lot of players. If you're a lower speed or a lower launch player, we still do quite a lot of 5-woods, but it's more as a first option now. We're creeping more into kind of 6/7-wood lofts as the second wood to get enough spin on. And you still see, I think, given the right conditions, tour pros, they may opt to go for a 7-wood to maximise height and stopping power, but I don't think it's irrelevant across the board. I think amateurs and pros, it's certainly relevant for. If you're playing a driver 13.5-degree forward and then a 7-wood, then it will be something around the 4-wood mark, a 17-degree. 7-wood's going to be 21 degrees, and technically a 17-degree should fill the gap. But that's quite a lot of clubs, that top bit of the bag. So just make sure that you're not duplicating or kind of make sure you're giving enough of a gap between each club to warrant putting that extra one in. There's no point having them overlapping too much. That would be the only comment I would make.
DSP, hey Stu, can you show us the right finger spacing in regards to grip size, like right hand and left hand? How far should the fingers be from the hands, etc.? I think this is probably one for you there on what you recommend as good grip sizing for people. I mean, I've always gone, I don't believe you should be remedying a swing floor with having a grip either too large or too thin. I believe that it's whatever grip size you are, you work on that basis rather than anything else.
Yeah, if it's sizing, we've all got different proportional hands, and so some players, so my hand, my right hand here, that bit drops down, so I'm not particularly long here. You get other players whose hands extend out. And that really, in your bottom hand, if you're kind of long into that part of the hand, then that generally means you need a reduced taper, like a +4 or something, because a standard taper, it's almost like, if this shows up, let me know, James, if my hand's in the right place. So it's a bit like me gripping the shaft. You see there's all that space in and around, and it doesn't fill my finger out. Whereas on this one, this is my grip. If I put my right hand on there, it's nice and snug in that finger. I don't have to exert a lot of pressure to get control. So it's similar in the top hand. Again, I'll turn it around here. That's my left hand on there. Ideally, we want the little finger round past the center to clamp it in, and then light touch tips of fingers. So as a broad guideline, that would be where we'd start from, but there's also then comfort in it as well. If you've got, for example, joint issues, arthritis, something like that, a slightly bigger grip means not having to close your hands as much. Vibration dampening, things like that. There are several layers to it, but I think start from a standard size grip to a mid-size. If you add about 6 layers of tape under a standard size, that's the double-sided tape, that gets you to a mid-size. So 2 layers of tape doesn't get you anywhere near a mid-size. So there's actually quite a lot of in-between that you can go to. But comfort is a real key thing. So yeah, like anything, there's a definitely but and maybe kind of elements to it. But generally, as a rule of thumb, if you're in a small size glove, small to medium, it's going to be standard size, and then standard to kind of plus a couple of layers. Medium to large, you're going to be 4 layers under a standard grip, maybe a mid-size at the top end. If you're going to a large, you're going to be in a mid-size. That kind of progression, that would be the base structure, and then it's a bit of either see someone who knows what they're talking about or go with what feels comfortable, but try a couple over the winter.
And don't be frightened by sticking a grip on yourself. I mean, it's really quite easy to do, isn't it? I mean, if no, you're not feeling that?
Well, the difficulty is clamping it in a way to put it on. You need solvents. So I would not recommend you just randomly going in the garage and trying to stick one on. No. But your pro shop will be able to do it.
Yeah.
Be wary of grip weight if you're changing size, because standard grips are roughly 50 grams. Some mid-sizes are 57, but a lot go up to 65 grams, and that will change the balance of your club completely. So be conscious of grip weight. But I would avoid using solvents unless you know what you're doing.
Bit of white spirit then, no?
In the past, it was petrol because it's got to evaporate off. White spirit, I don't think lubricates as much.
No?
I don't think.
Okay.
I certainly wouldn't want white spirit anyway.
No, I mean it's horrible stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to do it in the garage. I mean, you get a rubber bung for your clamp, right? Your vise. Stack it in there. Get your shaft in there. Cut it off. Whack it on. But yeah, look, maybe go and see a professional. I'm a golf pro myself, so I'm a bit more adept at it. But yeah, have a play with it. That's the point, right? Find what works for you and feels good in your hands. But don't go into it thinking that it's going to fix a swing floor. That's my feel anyway. Adam Spencer. Adam Spencer. Hi. Gifted a set of Mura TC201s fitted with MMT 90S shafts.
Right.
Standard length. I play +1 inch and would like to lengthen. Is it better to use an extender or soft step by 2?
So, there are a couple of bits of this. One, lucky boy given some Muras, lovely, lovely heads. However, if you play an inch longer than standard, so there are two. The Mura heads are heavier than most by a few grams. Doesn't sound like a lot, but if you go an inch longer, those clubs are going to play like an absolute sledgehammer for swing weight. The MMT shafts also swing very tip heavy. So they're going to swing very, very bottom end heavy. I mean, extending by an inch I wouldn't do. I'd say half an inch would be about the maximum, because if you extend more than that, then actually you're holding, there's going to be pressure on where the join is, and that's likely to fail. Double soft step, you can certainly do that. But then you'll, depending on what irons you've got up to, can you infill at the top end? Because if you've got 4 iron down, then I don't think you'll be able to double soft step, because I think they start at 3 iron. But the bit that would concern me the most with those heads is they're going to get very, very heavy swing weight. You're going to be up at E0, something like that, which is not going to be that fun to swing. And then is that going to do justice to the beautiful heads that they are? So yeah, depending on how different to your spec that shaft is, be very, very careful about extending that, because they could end up being really horrible to swing.
Alias Capone, over the last couple of seasons, Simon has held the T150 as the #1 irons on the market, with the I230s right behind them. He knows his onions. He knows what you like, God, Simon.
Have to be careful being watched.
With the new releases, are these irons still the gold standard?
Yeah, they're right up there, to be fair. I think the T150s haven't changed that much. There's a little bit more tungsten heel and toe. They're a little bit more stable off centre. And there's a little bit more help with the flight and the longer irons, but they're still all around a really, really good head. Ping I240s are slightly thicker sole, but they are a little bit more forgiving than the 230s were. Some people might not find them quite as attractive looking, but functionally, performance-wise, really, really strong. And with the toe weight, the screw and weight on the toe, that means they're really versatile from a setup point of view. Titleist, we can get a lighter head as well. So both heads are still a very, very good option.
Peter Kendall, hi guys, good evening Peter. I had a fitting with Simon last Monday. The fitting brought home to me the big difference between proper fitted clubs and non-fitted clubs. Had a great experience, thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Super, nice feedback, thank you so much.
And Peter got to try the CBZ wedges, which he'd been badgering me to test on here for the last few weeks, which we hadn't had in, so.
Tristan Holloway, good evening gentlemen. I have recently swapped a 4-iron for a 7-wood. Any tips on ball position with this new club in the bag? Thanks in advance. Swapped a 4-iron for a 7-wood. Yeah, look, I mean, I think a 7-wood is far more enjoyable to hit down on than a 4-iron.
That's a 5-wood, but
there you go, that does the same job. I think that once you start to get into those most lofted woods, depending on your ball flight, I don't think you're going to really miss a beat with getting it more towards your left heel, so that you can start to feel like you can move onto it. There's nothing worse than feeling like you're trying to back up to get the thing in the air. So get the ball forwards, get it on your left heel if you can, similar to your driver. I mean, the more the ball moves forwards in the stance, the more you can start to feel like you can move on top of it, still hit down and hit it late enough in your arc to feel like you still get launch on it. And if you've got a 7-wood, that's a winner. 4-iron, again, it feels really tricky hitting down on a 4-iron with such little loft, shorter shaft, less ball speed, right? Less launch.
Yeah, it's interesting. I find, so I put a 5 wood. This one's my 5 wood, and I only put that in the bag a year ago. And I find I have to put that more where my 4 or 5 iron setup would be. Partly, I've always been generally my missus left, and I felt it drew more than my 3 wood did. And just putting it a little further for me, that's where it's different player to player. For me, it's slightly further back, which let me play it like an iron, stopped it just from overdrawing, and felt more comfortable. But I hit it high with that.
And that's the point, right? Simon's a high ball hitter. I'm a low ball hitter. So you're asking, what does it feel like for you, and what does it feel like for you? You've got to ultimately dictate the shape that you're seeing in the sky and the flight you're seeing in the sky. If you're seeing your ball take off really high, you wouldn't want to knuckle it forwards. If you're seeing the thing, low, then you would want to move it forwards. If you're seeing a fade, you might want to move it more back. If you're seeing a draw, you might want to move it more forwards. So there's, unfortunately, unless you tell us what your angle of attack is, what your face to path value is, and what your dynamic loft is, we can't really give you a singular answer. If it does this, try a bit of that. If it does this, try a little bit of that. And that's the reality of it. But hopefully you are flexible in where you want to move the ball. And I think that's the point with technology and golf equipment now, and what we know. In the old days, that's where you always play the ball. It don't work that way. To hit the ball low, you've always got to do this. No. You just got to optimize how you move, and everyone's different because of that. Those
but the 7
techniques.
would be much nicer than the 4 iron in winter.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Long live the 7 wood.
Yeah.
Sculptura, evening, both. Evening, Sculptura. Daughter won another trophy for the year, but wants to work on her dynamic loft, as tends to sweep the ball away rather than hitting down and loses distance. Any drills for her? Well, first of all, before you embark on hitting more down, you've got to accept the fact that you hit more down, you will make your face more open to the path. An angle of attack, high ball flight, will come from someone that has a slightly weaker, more open club face. So before you embark on angle of attack, be careful. If you've got a ball flight that cuts a little bit already, if you hit more down, you will make that worse. So to reduce your dynamic loft and hit it flatter, you're going to have to make the face a little bit stronger in that golf swing to start with. So make that occur first. So you'd hit high draws or high hooks, then increase your angle of attack to straighten that face to path out. Then you'll end up with a low ball flight and straight. So don't go working on angle of attack before knowing what you need to change before that angle of attack. Hopefully that makes sense. Adam Spencer, as reference, like flight. Adam Spencer was referring back to his original question. So he was asking about the Muras.
Right, yeah.
And then he says, as a reference, he likes the flight of a steel fibre I-80R and weight of an I-95R.
Okay. So the MMTs are going to swing noticeably more, generally swing more tip heavy than the steel fibres, and then if you increase the length of them, then that's going to exaggerate that. Technically, the weight sits in a good place, dead weight wise, but I think going longer, I think the problem's going to be in the swing weight end of it. I think it's going to be a little unwieldy, and the time is going to go off a little bit. But that would be, those heads are going to exaggerate that versus pretty much any others, because they're about a couple of swinging points heavier because the dead weight's heavier than most.
Lloyd asks, evening guys, have you hit the new Callaway UT driving iron, and how would you rate it?
Well, there's the one from this year. So there was an update with the latest sort of Apex series. And it's a solid head. Callaway, the driving irons are generally good for ball speed. It's not the biggest head out there, but they've always been good for a slightly flatter flight. A little bit less spin, a little bit of a stronger ball flight. So there's a hair more launch than previous models from this one, but it's still good for a strong spin rate and good ball speed, but say a little less forgiving than some of the others in order to get that lower spin.
If you're new to a Monday Night Live, we do this at 6 p.m. every week, so do hit that like button while you are watching. If you're watching on the vertical live, double tap the screen, and if you're watching in the long form, just hit that like button. It costs you nothing, and it really helps our channel grow. We want to bring you the best content possible when it comes to club fitting and coaching. Thank you so much in advance. Richard Skinner. Richard, good evening. Great show, guys. Thank you
very much.
Simon, have you seen the Callaway X Forged 2025? Thoughts, question mark. Are they comparable with the Mizuno S3 in terms of size, top line, offset and feel?
So there are kind of two heads that this was a kind of a soft launch. It was more of a limited run. So the X4s, they've got sort of it's a quite a traditional kind of muscle cavity back. Are they similar to the S3? Yeah, in principle, they're just a single piece forging. They've got the tri-sole, so you've got a beveled front edge and a bit of relief on the back edge. I would say, yeah, they're not dissimilar to the S3, slightly bigger head size from a length point of view, but we're very limited, they're pretty limited. I think there's a raw version in Asia at the moment as well. There was one other head that launched in the States with a bigger cavity back as well. But yeah, I would say very, very similar, not particularly forgiving, very soft feel. There's no real tech in them at all, just a very traditional single piece forged head. If you want to maximize feel and in principle kind of front to back distance control, but are happy to give up some forgiveness, then a nice head for that.
Very good. Sam Magoo. Hey Sam, Hi Stu, just want to say thank you. You have really helped with my game and it all makes sense. I bought a grip trainer and can confirm I'm now a grip pervert. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the club.
Grip pervert.
Grip pervert, baby. The Idle Mouse retracted a comment. Hopefully he's going to come back with a new question. Nicholas, 4 index, handicap 4, swing change because I have massive horizontal on downswing. Massive horizontal on downswing. Massive horizontal on downswing. I have good hands, so I rely on for shallowing, contact speed, trying to reduce slide, feel more fun. Thoughts for feels or drills. Well, a slide, if you're talking about a big slide, a slide is really giving you time to square the blade up, because the more you slide into a golf shot, the more you get yourself time to whip the nose over. So you've got to really think about trying to get your face a little bit stronger. But what that's going to do is when you get the face a little bit stronger, when you get that same move, you're then going to start hitting it more off to the left. So 2 things that you want to try to do in your downswing. Let me do this with a wedge so I've got a bit more room. As you make a downswing, what you want to try to do is feel like this right shoulder can catch up with your lead foot. So just make some swings where you step away from the target and move your right shoulder towards your lead foot. And what this will do is start to make your left hip move back inside. It will start to make your shoulder come more forwards and get you to hit down and more to the left. What that looks like from down the line, I step to the right, away from the target. I move the grip down, which now you can see I'm starting to open up. The grip's coming more forwards. Now I can hit more down and across it. So the more you make your right shoulder feel like it can catch up with your left leg, the more you'll take away that drop in and loop it over. It's a very old school method, that driving London, isn't it? And unloading the toe over it. But you only have to look at the modern day golf swings now. The lead foot has so much energy in it when the golfers are being pulled or pulling the club into strike. If you've got some slide, that right foot's too much involved on the way down, and it's a strange feeling for someone that's been a slider with a golf ball. But yeah, think about getting the face a little bit stronger and then starting to change that leg action on the way down.
Is this where you'd use that old slidey tool?
The leaderboard, absolutely.
Like speed skating on that.
It is, yeah. and when clients step on it, they always tend to want to step on the moving one first, because that's the one that they're worried about. So they step on that first, and that's the one that slightly moves.
I think I did that with you.
Yeah, it's easy to get sucked into that.
Good tool, though.
Yeah, let's jump on there. So Doug says, I'm with you, Stu. I taught myself how to put grips on Just Device, rubber clamp, and low odor white spirit. The normal one
low
stinks.
odor. Low odor is definitely a key one there. Otherwise, you end up high as a kite.
Yeah, exactly. James Young, another great show. Thank you so much, James. I played with the GDIZ shaft in my driver for 6+ years in the 70X Flex. Is there any other shafts that compare, and do you offer a driver shaft fitting only? Thanks, Jimbo.
Driver shaft fitting, we generally schedule the same amount of time as a standard driver fitting, but then if it takes less time, then work on kind of effectively a bit of a price credit for that. But we always set out the standard driver fitting time for it. Tour ADIZ 75. Lovely shaft, 72, 73 grams, got a bit of kick in the tip. So in terms of something that's not dissimilar to that, I would be thinking, look, TPT are going to do an option at that weight in the high series. I can't remember which number exactly it would be, but it'd be around the 15 mark, if I remember rightly, but they list the weights on their website. In the red range, that'd be good for that. I would say 72, low 70s. It's slightly different, but the Fuji Pro Blue, that's a similar weight. Yeah, in terms of having a bit of tip response, it's actually the Ventus Red in a 7. It's slightly heavier, but that's not a million miles off. Probably play a little lower spin, but that's not a million miles off.
Very good, very good. Wavy, question in the release. You've talked about maintaining the cupped wrist angle till the club comes down. This is helping my hits, but I'm still experiencing the club face hits the ball when it slips under. This is helping my hits, but I'm still experiencing the club face hits the ball, then slips under. Can you be a little bit more insightful? I'm not.
It sounds like a cryptic crossword clue.
Yes, yes. What do you mean by slips under? Let me know what you mean by slips under, and I will answer your question for you. Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, we'll get a
My questions are much easier than yours.
Yeah, they are. They are. Eric Wallace, hey fellas, debating on some Max drivers. Can you offer some insight and possibly test the Cobra Max K versus the QI35 Max driver? Thanks so much.
Yep, I'll grab them and I'll come back and I'll give some insight.
He's on it. He's on it while Simon nips off for that. Lloyd, just one more question, lads. You are welcome to have as many as you like, Lloyd. I've always had an early extension problem. How can I feel more hip depth in the downswing? Does having the rear further back at address help? Well, early extension is buying a golfer time. Buying a golfer time to unload the club shaft. It's also, most of the time, comes from a club that's crossed over. When a club is crossed over and then the golfer pulls the grip to the ball, what's happening is the club head is dropping back. So the club head's dropping back. And if the grip's moving forwards and the club head's dropping back, that head is going to hit the floor too soon. So the golfer early extends and moves forwards. What you want to do, a great little drill, is get yourself up against the wall. Can you get me there, James? To move that, can you move that around slightly, maybe? There he is, look. The tech is fantastic. Make a backswing. Pull the grip towards the wall. So you can see I've got the grip onto the wall. Now, move the grip towards you and fit the club head in. And what you'll feel is the fact that the club head is swinging over the top of the grip. You're moving the grip back underneath you, which now puts you more in forward bend as the golf club swings. So bringing that out to the camera there, look at that, he's on it, he's on it. Moving the grip forwards. Now I'm going to move the grip towards me. Can you see how that club is now moving back over the top and lining itself up? Now the opposite of that, instead of the arms going forwards, the arms coming down. When the arms come down, the shaft steepens up. Now all of a sudden what happens is golfers tend to then move the grip out, and that's where you get that early extension from. But I've done loads of videos on early extension on my channel. Go check those out.
Right. So
I have way more difficult questions than you.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to try and work out what people mean with their swings. Someone just asked me about heads. So with both of the, the TaylorMade Max and then the effectively 10K, Max K, Cobra, they've both got light composite crown, light composite center, heavy weight at the back for maximum stability. Same sort of principles across both heads, where they're both trying to get the weight as far away from the face as possible to get that magic 10K number. Interesting enough, some of the brands, Ping included, have stopped using that number because you've changed the weight in the back. If you make it lighter, it isn't 10K anymore. So you'll probably stop seeing the 10K number mentioned in drivers soon. But both actually very, very stable. The main thing, the frame weight of the TaylorMade is heavier. So as a base head weight, this is just over 200 grams. We set up 195 odd with the Cobra. So they will swing quite differently if they're on the same shaft setup. So the TaylorMade will be a heavier balance. But obviously the TaylorMade have got the composite face, which Cobra doesn't, which they've had some issues with in the past, but this year is a bit more stable. So we actually have the backdrop for this is Black Desert Ranch in Utah, which is where the PGA Tour are playing this coming week. So thought, topical.
Okay. Well,
I know there's a lot of water in this one. I don't know what I've done to myself. But
got it all here.
So
that's a good-looking hole, isn't it?
Once you've hit the fairway, I'm sure it's lovely.
Good looking if you're a spectator.
Got water left, bunker left, water right. Not good. Right. So start with the TaylorMade. So I'm testing using the same shaft that I play in my own driver. This head makes the swing weight pretty heavy. So on this shaft, it's up at about D6. So it is pretty darn sturdy.
You've got a strong trouser and shoe game tonight, haven't you?
Well, I toned it down. I could have gone like my kind of brogue multiple blues. I thought that was a bit try hard.
Yeah, got it.
So, yeah.
Got it.
So TaylorMade head sits a bit more upright as well, actually. Lie-wise, the toe does sit up a certain amount. So both heads are going to feel very stable.
Super wide fairway. That's frozen rope.
Well, it isn't until you get to the water. And then,
frozen rope, that one.
So definitely, that didn't feel completely middle, but there was very little twisted impact. What have we got on this one? We've got 2-3 on spin. So launch-wise, it's on another one of the tiles. I'll just have a quick check of what the launch was there. We don't need, so launch angle 13, I'll take out total.
That was an efficient shot.
Wasn't
it 266 carry on a 10 something?
Well, this is slight altitude.
Got it.
So it's probably more like a 255 carry. But
still a nice shot.
Decent for spin. Yeah. TaylorMades have always been good for spin. If I swap the Cobra on...
Barney's woken up. He's not falling asleep anymore. He's woken up. And he's had his dinner as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's had his dinner.
Very efficient.
He's had his dinner, the lad.
So, Cobra head. I think this Cobra head is pretty underrated this year. I think it's been a really good head. The K. It's a flatter looking face. So this one, it's straight. It looks like there's a little less curvature on it. So it's quite a different look, a little bit kind of a more kind of conical towards the back. But we've seen some good results with this head over the course of this year.
Conical. Nice use. Is that gone in the drink?
Possibly. Well, it's a little lighter. I might have healed it a bit. So well, both of them have stayed very straight for ball flight.
Incredibly straight.
So
incredibly
that
straight.
Swing deserved to go in the water.
I mean, honestly, you had been like and you're on the fairway. That's a dream.
Yeah, that's it. So caught that one a little out the heel. Ball speed's dropped. Only 3,000 spins. So actually, the spin maintenance very, very good, and that's really what you get out of both heads is a lot of stability. It's a bit like the pings in the 10Ks have been in the past. But what you'll need to do with them to find out which one's best is depending on your strike point. One head will be better if your miss is a bit heely, one will be better if it's a bit toe side, and just make sure you essentially just test them to know which one's better. They're all very good now in terms of stability across the face. Whether it's a Titleist GT2, the Max K here, the Max, even the core model with the weight back on the TaylorMade, the Callaway, the Elite. There's a lot of very stable drivers out now. One launching next year that we hit the other week, which is remarkably forgiving. But obviously I can't tell you anything about it now because there's embargo. It hasn't lifted yet. But potentially the most forgiving head I've ever hit launching next year. Really? But it's still small differences versus those. But head weight on the Cobra definitely lighter than TaylorMade.
Very good. Stu, could you explain the pull phase in more detail? What angle do you pull it to keep the handle path correct? Are you pulling it down or at an angle to the ball? Pull face. I mean, the reality is you can't be measuring angles because it's all happening too quickly. But pulling is pulling, right? I mean, if you lift the club up in front of you and then you move the grip towards the target. So I'm moving the grip towards the target. Look what's happening to the club shaft when I do that. Yeah, so you can see that the light end is being pulled and the shaft is laying down. So at the top of the golf swing, I'm looking to pull that club down that shaft line. As I'm moving around and the grip is falling, can you see how it all lines back up? So I am absolutely pulling it on an angle. I'm definitely not pulling it down, because if I pull it down, look what's going to happen to making the club shaft. It's going to try and fall over you. And the reason why that's going to happen is because the grip's so light, I can make the shaft steepen up. That's why I personally have a big problem with people thinking about pulling their arms down. If you've got the club head falling back behind you as you're pulling it, you can see how that shaft wants to lay down. So it's always about pulling it on the angle towards the golf ball. What goes on down through strike, a lot of that's going to work with how the grip pressure and your feet are working with each other. Now, this is quite complex stuff to just give a throwaway comment.
Yeah.
But if you were to go into the gym, get yourself a cable out of the wall and then start pulling on that cable, what would happen if the cable was behind me and someone said to you, right, pull the cable that's up here and move it over here, which is what you're trying to do in a golf swing. As I pull on that cable, what I'd do is I'd be loading that lead foot and I'd be pulling the cable. As I pull the cable, I wouldn't be pulling the cable down this way, I'd be pulling the cable forwards. So I'll be pulling the cable towards the ball line and I'll be using my lead foot to open my chest up as I'm pulling. I wouldn't be trying to turn and rotate my hips, I'd be using my legs. And so at that point, now I've got the cable here and I'm going to move it up over here. I then want to start making that right shoulder start to move around. So if you were to go into a gym and start moving a cable, you would absolutely start firing up your leg action and you'd really understand what pull means. People say to me, do I pull with my left hand or my right hand? You've got something in your hands. You don't just isolate one hand, you pull with both hands. We get so caught up as golfers with thinking that this golf swing is something so different. It's not, you're just moving a weapon around your body trying to hit a golf ball. And because it's like we're angular and the club's in the air and the ball's down there, we get caught up in the fact that, you know, it's up and down. Really, there's such small amounts of arm lift. You know, in a golf swing, we have such a small amount of arm lift. Can you see how small I've lifted my arms? It's such a small amount. There's more forearm rotation, but everyone talks about we can't have forearm rotation. Forearm rotation is different to wrist angle. So it's a very, very simple network of movements. But when I talk about pulling, which is a bit like the USP of my channel, that's what has to happen on the way down. And everybody's doing it. Some people feel it more, some people feel it less. You'll see it in what you do, don't you? You get loaders of the golf club. You get swingers of the golf club. There's swingers of the golf club, invariably are slower swingers of the golf club. Pullers of the club, invariably faster guys. But that's just the way the game's going. Everyone's pulling the crap out of it and hitting it really hard. You know, it's just a different way of thinking about the game, really, rather than sort of yesteryear of softly and you know.
Our game now. And if you're very privileged, we just witnessed the first bit of highlight reel for the end of year 2025 summary of Stuart doing the twist.
Yes, twist and shout, twist and shout, baby.
It was a slick move, that.
Yeah, well, I just dropped it in. I don't care. I just drop it in when I like. The Idle Mouse. He's come back with his question. I have recently bought a Ping IDI with the 85S shaft. On course, I'm blocking it terribly. That is not good news. My irons are Modus Tour 115 X-Flex, 1 degree upright. I have made a mistake with the shaft, or could it be the lie issue?
A lie won't make that much difference. So think about it with loft. If you've got minimal loft, I'm going to try and find something to. I've got a little tool in the other bay that can display this nicely. It says if I can find it in one of the bays.
Off.
Here we go.
To yourselves.
Right.
Here he is, coming back. That was a lovely little jig.
So, yeah. So.
Lie angle.
So if you've got lots of loft and you change the lie, then the angle, where the face is pointing, so you can see from this moves, so I'll hold it a bit closer so it's a bit easier, that moves quite considerably. If we take all the loft off, then it doesn't move at all. So the lower the loft club you have, the less impact lie has on start line, shot shape. That's why on something like a putter, you can have 4 or 5 degrees of lie off, and it really doesn't make a massive difference because it's only got 3 degrees of loft. So it's not going to be the lie. Chances are it's wrong shaft setup because it's not coming through with you. Now I've got to play in my 2-iron, which is this. I play same shaft as in my irons. But there are plenty of players who do go lighter. But if you've gone the 115s in an X, they're actually about a 121 gram shaft. You then drop into 85. Chances are it's too light. And you think, well, light, I'm going to flip it. But actually, sometimes light, there's nothing for you to pull against. There's nothing creating that momentum to take you through the ball and square it off. So it ends up being a bit of a kind of a short arm stab and outright it goes. So chances are taking the shaft weight up will help to get the natural sort of flow and swing of the club and get the club coming through the ball and squaring it off more for you. But if you, depending on where you are, it's the kind of thing we can test here, but try and get somewhere where you can actually test some different shaft weight setups and see what works best for you. But it would sound like going heavier and getting it close to your irons is likely to be the right thing to do.
Winner. Wavy.
Possibly shorten the shaft length, depending on how long it's at as well.
Shorten shaft. Wavy slips under as in heel continues to lead by P8. The toe does not come over in the release. There is no roll. I can't get the feel of this properly to occur. So what you want to do is get the palm of your hand to the floor and think about where your fingernails want to point to give you the sense of how you can unload the golf club. So when you then start to feel the club through strike, can you see that there is no toe over the heel? The club is just swinging. Toe over the heel would be bowing of your left wrist. So when you think about putting force on the grip to make the head swing, that's what you want to feel, to stop it from slipping under. So pop your hand on the top of the club, externally rotate your forearm. That's the sensation you want to feel to oppose that is in your terms, slipping under. Hope that helps. Let me know how you get on. Kerry Kirk. Hi, Stuart. Hi, Kerry. You mentioned on a previous video about having and overcoming the yips with a practice called heart math. Can you recommend someone who is competent in teaching this? Well, I'm competent. I'm a heart math practitioner, so I can help you with that. I can do that remotely. You probably can go on to Heart Math website. There'll be some practitioners there. If you go to a website called Beyond the Barriers as well, they should be able to help you as well. But if you can't find someone in your local area, reach out to me, scartwrightgolf@gmail.com. I'll be able to help you out. That's that one. The Yorkshire Blade.
Aha.
We haven't heard from the Yorkshire Blade in ages. Hi, Stu. If you had to pick one arm to concentrate on in the backswing as a right-handed player, which would it be?
Middle arm. Sorry, just being silly.
No, I mean, I don't put more prominence on one hand over the other. I really don't. So I'm going to go with both. Isolating one arm over the other is a bad idea.
I guess you want a balanced movement, and therefore you don't want to create more tension in one arm than the other.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Someone asked me that not that long ago. What do I think about in terms of release? Is it one hand or other? I was like, no, everything just like throwing a rugby ball. You just
unloads together.
Rugby ball's a similar shaped ball to American football for those of us who are in the US, that we throw underarm.
Underarm, yes. Mono Titan. Good evening, guys. Good evening, Mono Titan. Could you please give me a few examples of why I could be losing distance on all of my irons and wedges? Let's go from a club perspective.
So, from a timing point of view and therefore strike, if the setup, i.e. shaft weight, if the weight and the balance is wrong, then you and the club are out of sync, and that means you just lose efficiency. So ideally, Obviously, try and grab something that has not a huge amount of loft. What we want to happen is that you and the club arrive at the same time. So from a club point of view, if you get the weight of the club right, and most of the time people think about flex, but actually it's mass of the club. If the mass of the club's right, it allows you to stay balanced and to move efficiently back through, pull it into the water on the left. But no, essentially you're arriving all together. You're not having to kind of wait and back off or change your posture.
The irony in that is that you've hit 2 drivers down the fairway and you've hit a 5-iron in the soup.
So with that one there, 6 on there, I've got 142 efficiency. So from quite a quiet swing, whereas I can put a lot more effort in, and if I get out of sync, then posture changes. I lose control of the club head. It's gone up in the air more.
It's hit the fairway though.
It's hit the fairway. It's still in play. But what we're going to see here is, a 131 efficiency, much more spin. So if the setup of the club is wrong, then it's very hard for you to control the club head into strike and get quality contact, consistent low point, consistent strike, and straight, efficient ball flight. Loft is another thing, but in terms of club setup, that's probably the biggest one that we see.
From a golf swing perspective, too much loft would usually create a golfer to have not enough angle of attack to square the face up. So if the face is open, then you're unloading the club hard because the face is open because you're hitting it to the right, so that you end up with no angle of attack and way too much dynamic loft, which is why you would be losing a lot of distance. So there's a couple of reasons or a couple of ways that you could improve that distance for you.
If it's driver, if it's too high loft, it's just not going to go anywhere.
Yeah. Absolutely. Grelis 33. As a new golfer, great to have a new golfer commenting in. Brilliant. I want to get fitted, especially as I'm 6'5". Is there a target, handicap, swing, consistency, or something else I want to reach to get the best out of a fitting? See next message. I want to get something that works for me now and as I get better.
I wouldn't say there's a target on it. I mean, it's very difficult if you're 6'5". I mean, we had people in who are 6'9", but if you're tall, then getting something that's actually suitable, that is a reasonable budget as well, is very, very hard, because it's not something you're going to find very easily. All the low cost are going to be bog standard length, standard setups, and not suitable at all. And you're going to be down here trying to make a swing, which makes it really hard to improve. So it is an interesting one. It kind of sounds like 6'5". Actually, if you've got any element of swing going, actually it's probably worth getting someone to have a look and see, right, it might be that actually just getting a club together or a couple of clubs together that you can develop that's with something that's appropriate to you. You're likely to improve much quicker by doing that than getting a whole set that's inappropriate. So I would say if you've got someone that's good nearby, then, or look, depending on where you're from the UK, look, come and see us, and we'll give you a genuinely open, straight look at, right, what's most important to do now? And is it something that can last? Or, you know what, we need to do something that's functionally going to work for you that can then reuse ahead and adapt down the line. It's an interesting one because you're likely to improve quite quickly, but if you haven't got the right kit, that improvement's going to be really hard to do, and you might then start hating the game. But yeah, I would say get fitted sooner rather than later, because you're likely to be playing something really quite inappropriate, which is just going to make it harder than a hard game to improve anyway. It's going to make it even harder to improve and probably hurt your enjoyment of it.
Lloyd asks, Stu, what, with a relaxed right arm in the takeaway, I feel like I can control the club face well, but have a bit of a flying elbow at the top when I tuck the right arm like Hogan is advocated. I'm not a fan of tucking the right arm. Usually a flying elbow at the top of a golf swing comes from a right hand grip that's too much underneath, because as you take the golf club away, the right arm wants to internally rotate, then you take it up to the top and you end up with that flying right elbow. If you pop your right hand more on top of the golf club, make sure you've got yourself a really nice left hand. If you do that, now what happens, this right hand wants to externally rotate on the way back, And then all of a sudden you end up with a right elbow that looks more like this. So your right hand position on the golf club will exercise more external rotation in your right arm and get your right arm to sit more down rather than feeling like you've got to tuck it in. Because as soon as you tuck something in, it feels debilitating. It feels like you can't use it. And that is not what you want when you're trying to create a dynamic movement. So I would go against trying to tuck anything in other than your shirt in your trousers.
I mean, one slight quick addition to the answer to the question about the fitted clubs, it's about value. You can buy something that's low cost, but incorrect, and therefore it's poor value because you then got to buy again. You might spend a bit more money getting fitted, but if you get something that's appropriate, it can last you or it can be adapted. And if it helps you improve better, it's better value than buying cheap and buying multiple times. So that would be one thing that we'd always say.
Very good. Miss Ali Nerd, trying to watch the live on YouTube while sitting by one of the other fitting bays at Precision Golf. And overhearing is too confusing. We'll catch up later. Well, welcome to Precision Golf and thanks for commenting. Flynn Radcliffe, hello gents, hello.
He was prolific
Flynn.
last week.
Who?
Flynn.
Was he?
Half the questions were Flynn. It was great.
Really? Fantastic. Yeah. Mr. Stewart, Mr. Stewart, started to get a bit of early sway off the ball, then pressure back into my lead side at the top. Been flushing it, but my local pro says it's not sustainable. Any thoughts?
Flynn's fairly tall chap.
Yeah.
Quite strong.
Yeah. Well, if you're flushing it, it's sustainable, my friend. And if you exercise some insight into what people do at the top of the golf swing for the best players in the world, the force in their left foot is between 75 and 90% of weight in their lead side when they start pulling on the golf club. So it is sustainable. That's what I would suggest. Chase, do you suggest rotating my bottom wrist when putting a little bit more under and behind the club? Do you suggest rotating my bottom wrist when putting? It's always difficult to know whether they're talking about putting or putting.
Oh, it's a very good point, yeah.
When wrist when putting a little bit more under and behind the club. I don't know what you mean, Chase. Do you suggest rotating my bottom wrist when putting a little bit more under and behind the club? I don't know what you mean, Chase, unfortunately. So can you elaborate on what you're referring to there? Can you understand that? I can't.
The only bit that maybe wanted to under and behind, whether meant that in terms of gripping more kind of underneath, but that would be the limited insight I can offer you.
Elaborate more. Ivan R. Hello, gents. I had a question regarding a 7-wood shaft weighting. Understanding that weight is fairly personal to the individual. Should a 7-wood shaft be similar in weight to that of a hybrid shaft?
So most often for amateur golfers, and this is a broad generalisation, we would not go heavier in a 7-wood than other woods. You tend to, for very strong players, for pros, they might go a little bit heavier. Most amateurs actually through fairway woods play the same shaft weight, and then we go slightly heavier than a hybrid, and then heavier again to irons, because a 7-wood stand length on a 7-wood is 41 and a half inches. Stand length on a hybrid is down at 40. So it's shorter, therefore heavier shaft weight actually neutralises the weight of the clubs a little bit. So ordinarily, and I don't know what your game's like, so I can't offer you any specifics, but fairway woods, same weight, hybrid slightly heavier, and then iron slightly heavier again.
Possibly one of the best answers we've had. Chase said, yes, what the blue guy said.
Well,
you're on point.
I can be Papa Smurf tonight.
You're on point. I would not recommend putting the right hand underneath, Chase. No, if you're looking to fix the ball bending to the right, if that's why you're going there, fix your lead hand. Just go check out my grip series on my channel, and that will fix your grip for you, Chase. But love the reply.
Just imagine if I put the blue shoes on as well.
What the blue guy said. That's brilliant. Thanks, Chase. That's lit my day up.
I think I'm going to be reminded of that for a while, Chase.
The blue guy. What the blue guy said. What did the blue guy say? Adam, scratch golfer. Played TM high toe wedges in my last 2 sets, and I swear by them. Why don't we see more high toe style wedges on tour? Possible disadvantages or over traditional?
I think what the high toes do is, and I'm going to get a wedge just to help describe this very quickly.
Has Gary commented on mine or
Why do I think Gary's not being polite? So the high toe wedge is this one where it's got, unsurprisingly, high toe, whereas a more conventional shaped wedge is a little bit lower and comes across. So what the high toe, it's a bit like the old Ping I2 wedge that those of us of a certain vintage would remember. There's more weight at the top that actually helps to keep maybe launch down a little bit, helps CG up slightly, but when you're in bunkers and you're opening the club up, there's actually more face to get contact on the ball. Now, certainly going back a few years, you did see, I remember seeing Rory put one of these in play. I seem to remember him at Palm Beach playing at the Honda Classic with one. And for the shorter shots around the greens, bunker shots, that's where they really come into their own, because what that does, that height of the weight here, as you hit in, helps to work it underneath a little bit more. So suits the delicate shots around the greens. But the heads are a little heavier. They can be a little cumbersome for pitching swings and longer pitching shots. So the tour players may well want that little extra versatility on the longer shots. If you are solely prioritising get out of jail around the greens, that's when the high toe shapes tend to work best.
Chase says it was whilst putting. Again, Chase, more orthodox would be thumbs down the top of the shaft. Go with that to start with. But if you're battling and it works with putting, go with it. Gary Satterfield said, Terre Blanche in France have called. They want all the gear I stole out of the hotel room back.
Oh, you one of those? Did you not just slippers?
No,
Do you take the dressing gown and everything?
I took it all. Yeah. I took it all. Look, it's 9 o'clock. Mike B
If it's
said,
9 o'clock, it's been a very long live, isn't it?
Yeah, Mr. Mike B says, you guys are awesome. What are your handicaps? You're +2?
Plus 2.5.
And I'm a golf pro. Yeah, so 2.5.
So +5 he plays off.
Yeah. Anyway, listen, it's been a cracking live. Loads of questions.
Yeah.
If you are watching for the first time, we do this every week at 6 p.m. James is behind the desks, moving the cameras around. It's a big shout out to him. He's very good. I'm not too bad either, but right. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for checking in. We'll see you next Monday, 6 p.m. Be here, bring a friend. Have a great week.